Welcome to Group Papa's video presentation for the Part 1B Computer Science Group project. The title of our project is Soft Music Notation, and it implements an original way of editing music scores. Our client was Dr. Arild Stenberg, an academic at the Department of Music in Cambridge. One of his research projects revolves around his original Stenberg notation, designed to improve the readability of music scores with a focus on spacing, layout, and visual layers. Some key features of Stenberg notation include clearer beam grouping rules than found in traditional scores, representing rests in the music as white space, a consistent note stem direction across the entire score, bar and pulse lines that span across the whole page, consistent spacing for beat lengths, and a variety of structuring rules for pages, sections, lines, and phrases. A Part 1B group from last year tackled this problem using an existing music notation software called Ceponis. They wrote a renderer in Java to allow musicians to add markings to a score in Ceponis and generate a PDF in Stenberg notation form. Crucially, this process involved a separate build step before the results could be viewed. Our aim was to implement the same notation rules, but in an interactive editor with live updates, so changes in sectioning or spacing could be seen and adjusted immediately. We set out on a project pipeline early on in development. Our project was split up into a backend server, front-end interface, and a cloud-hosted database and account system. We incorporated an existing optical music recognition library called Galvez into our project. This allows musicians to upload existing scores and adjust them in Stenberg notation to their liking. Our first significant component was the parser on the back end. Galvez would output MusicXML for a particular score, which we ran through last year's Java parser to transform to an intermediate representation, which we then serialized to JSON for transport and saving to a document database. We used Firebase for authentication and to allow users to save scores and return to them later in our app with a custom file system component. However, we also wanted the core functionality to be available offline, so users can also upload a local JSON file and save the score to their file system. The app itself is available as a progressive web app. The bulk of the front-end work was focused on the editor interface and score rendering. We used Next.js and React to build our stateful components, and Fabric.js, a library which extends HTML canvas, to write a custom rendering pipeline. The editor contains simple tools for adding page, section, line, and phrase breaks, and for exporting the score. This was implemented in React. The rest of the page is a Fabric.js canvas which renders the currently loaded score. Rendering involved deserializing the JSON into a TypeScript class hierarchy, then initializing a series of custom Fabric objects on the canvas. For each notation structure, we wrote draw logic using the canvas context, and then relative positioning logic in the representation. This logic was often particularly involved for certain edge cases, such as adding additional ledger lines for high or low pitch notes, side-shifting pitch adjacent notes, and connecting series of different length notes inside a beam group. Here's a live demo. Here I'm logged into Firebase with my Google account. Let's upload a local score. All notes are automatically rendered and positioned on the page. We can add line breaks at any point in a section. This will move the remaining notes in the score downwards. You can also remove line breaks as needed. Section breaks have a larger gap and also add an additional clef margin to indicate a new section. Time signatures can be different, so pulse lines may not be aligned. You can add a new page break whenever you want. Pages are always retained in A4 ratio. Let's try a more complex score. Here we can see white spaces being used as rests, and pulse lines being aligned differently according to the time signature. You could also edit this score in the same way as before.